We'll start right here. I think one of the polls on Tuesday I asked about how many of you have either been a victim of identity theft or you know somebody, but it was over half of you. And I think I told you 2-3 years ago it was much less, kickback from students from that, like maybe 1 or 2 students out of the classroom were affected. But there is no simple solution. The chapter starts out with network security and looking at also all the different types of attacks that are out there today, and facing your network, facing your home PC, your Mac. There's also some difficulties in defending these attacks that we'll talk about. So some typical warnings when it comes to attacking, typical warnings when it comes to network security is like a malicious program that was introduced at some point in manufacturing process of a brand of photo frames, and a Nigerian scam claimed to be sent from the UN, a booby-trapped web page growing increasing rate, new worm disabling Microsoft Windows updates and Task Manager. One of the ones that came out last semester was it was actually malware that would actually disable convert all of your files on your desktop to .icos with .icons, and so you couldn't really do anything. And so you just click on stuff and it wouldn't go anywhere. And that was a fun one. And then Apple also has, for the first time, many security flaws as well coming in, that hackers are finding because they're getting larger market for consumers, and even businesses now are starting to buy Apple products. So it's going to happen. Anti-Phishing Group reports that there's a number of unique phish sites continue to increase, and all phishing means is a fake site that seems to act as it is a real site. So a number one would be PayPal is a number one type of phish site that used to be a couple of years back. Now it's changed to like Google, Gmail, all your Google services, Amazon. And the reason for Amazon is becoming the number one place for folks to stream content, stream movies, things of that nature. They've hooked up, I believe, with Redbox here in the last year, and they're starting to also stream that. University of Maryland attached 4 computers with weak passwords, just let them sit on the internet 24 days to see what would happen. These computers were hit by intrusion attempt every 39 seconds on average. And I had, if there's Zone Alarm's the name of the app I recommend getting just to see what I'm talking about here, because you can install on a PC if you're not familiar with it. It's a free program called Zone Alarm, and you can actually see traffic as it's coming in, and you're just sitting there on the web doing nothing. Did you have a comment or something on it?
XP, the computers they were using, or 7, or just...
Is it what now?
For the OS on those that were hit. Or is it just...
Oh, yeah, it doesn't say in the research what it was. It just says that sitting on the web, weak password, just, kind of like most people at home's computers, I'm guessing, just sitting on the web. Because one of the dangers with home PCs being on all the time and even work PCs all the time, a lot of people use peer-to-peer connectivity with files, whether it be, or better yet, remote connectivity. So VNC might be an example where a person has VNC set up at home and it's open for the world to see. And let's say that VNC computer also is a web server and it's behind what's called a DMZ port you'll learn about this semester, which means it's totally open to everything. And all a person has to do is, there are scripts out there that will actually search the web for sites that use VNC and then just start attempting to get into those sites using real easy passwords, because they're generally either a no password or very easy password for VNC. VNC is very convenient but not real secure. It's not a real secure protocol for remoting. It's great for internal but not so much external. But if you do get a chance, if you're bored this weekend and you want to see what's hitting your network, what's hitting your computers at home, Zone Alarm would be a good app to download. just to see the traffic coming in. Then when you're done with it, you can uninstall it, or you can keep using it. It's a free app to use. It's another software firewall for your computer. You do have to train it for like 2 or 3 days, but then once you've got through training it, you're good to go. And what I mean by training is you allow apps to come in and websites to hit your computer and so on and so forth. Security stats bear witness to continual attacks. TJX Company reported 45 million credit cards and debit cards were stolen by attackers. We had this happen recently. Well, this was in 2005-2007 with Logley's. Everyone in here probably was affected by that somewhat. Everybody I know got a brand new credit card, whether they ever shopped there or not, and a new debit card from their bank. Just a blanket, everybody got one. And, you know, they'll never go into how it happened or why it happened, but it happened. And it can happen to any chain. And it does happen to all the major chains. Something like this has happened in some form or fashion. It talks about total average cost of data breach in 2007 was $197 per record compromised. A recent report revealed that 24 federal government agencies fell below the C- level. I believe I mentioned Tuesday McAfee when I said in that conference a while back, the seminar where they talked about their grade was like a C- at their location, and this was McAfee Antivirus Company. And so a lot of government facilities actually are working, believe it or not, on some machines that they're working on are maybe Windows 95 with DOS apps still running. You know, governmental facilities are not known for the best and greatest technology, and so a lot of times they'll have old, outdated, open for the world to basically do whatever. This just gives a graph here, the figure one to talk about in the last slide. Well, some of the one I want to mention is the top couple, Massachusetts Division of Professional Licensing. The description of security breach there was social security numbers of licensed professionals that are inadvertently released. And then it goes on and talks about how that information was erroneously mailed to agencies that submitted a public record requests for only names and addresses. Well, they got names and addresses, but they also got all social security numbers, over 500,000. Ministaff in Texas, Houston, Texas, currently current and former workers' personal data may be compromised because of a stolen laptop that contained data that included names, address, social security number, 159,000. We actually do a lab this semester talking about hiding data, ways you can hide data. We'll talk about how hackers hide data, but we'll also say how it can be used for good as well, not just evil, but it can also be used for good. And so we mentioned a few of these examples, one being somebody leaving their laptop at a Wi-Fi hotspot or a cafe. And if you have that data hidden on that laptop, nobody's going to know what you've got, basically, to be able to grab onto it. So we'll talk about technologies you can use to help your data stay secure. And then the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance in Baton Rouge, sensitive data for virtually all Louisiana college applicants and their parents over the past 9 years were lost during the move. The data included social security numbers for applicants and their parents. Number of identities unknown. That could be in the millions, I'm guessing. I have no clue. And so those are just a few security breaches. And normally, you don't hear of security breaches till a month, two down the road sometimes. Now, if you are a holder of credit card information, you're generally contacted fairly quick, but some companies have been known to wait a week or two before they say anything. And that can be a bad thing for folks that have business with that company. But it's difficult in defending attacks because of the speed of them, sophistication. I talked Tuesday about how a lot of the stuff coming out today is just a rehash of old viruses, old malware over the years that are just morphed, changed, and pushed out again. Simplicity of attack tools. You don't have to know much about programming or hacking to actually hack anymore. You just have to know the right tools to grab a hold of and get into any location, server, you name it, if it's a weak location or maybe even it's not. Attackers can detect vulnerabilities more quickly and exploit vulnerabilities. Delays and patches. Delays in patching hardware and software. Companies that delay updating their software are prone for attacks. The average American business is about 40%. Health-wise, probably lower than that, but it's national average about 40%, meaning 40% of the computers in America are updated, and that's probably a high number. I'm guessing it's going to be lower. And most attacks are now distributed instead of coming from only one source. So you've got it in many web pages embedded, emails, MP3s, movies that are shared on peer-to-peer sites, MP3s that are shared on peer-to-peer sites, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. These items are going to be going through it. Security and viruses and malware is going to be hitting these all the time as much as possible. I would probably say, before I go on, that the number one website I've seen, or website, type of website you want to kind of clear away from and tell people to clear away from, is the online gaming sites or gaming apps. The free ones generally have some ulterior motive about them. Not all of them do, but if you steer clear of them, you should be okay. But that's where I see a lot of malware and viruses coming from. Boot sector viruses is from, say, for instance, a Facebook game that Facebook approves. It is a good game maybe, but over time something happens. A virus gets injected by one of the programmers, and either on purpose or on accident, because if you're programming, whatever's on your machine actually gets into that program. It can get into that program and then released. So a lot of times I think it is done unknowns to the company that creates the program and the app, but then it doesn't take moments for millions of people to be infected. Just think about, believe it's Bejeweled or something like that is one of the big ones I think on Facebook, and Farm something. Both of those have been hit with viruses since they've been released, and they're still on the store, but I always tell people to also stay away from, there's a lot of online gaming sites that have a lot of ads on them that you can play games for free. Those are real prone for malware, viruses, and such. And user confusion. People, okay, can I open the email? Can I not open the email? Can I send this to somebody? Can I not send this? Can I go to this website? Can I not go to this website? All right, and so you ask one person, they say yes. You ask another person, they say no. And you can probably find websites to back up both sides, right? Everything from piracy to, you got both spectrums, those who totally, are against all levels of piracy, which I am as well, but to the extent of, say you buy a piece of a DVD that you bought at the store and you want to rip that DVD for your iPad or for your whatever device at home. There's big controversy on that law and the copyright issues. And that you can find websites to back up all the ways that you want. I always tell students it's best to err on the side of being conservative a little bit when it comes to anything comes to copyright issues, and then also when it comes to software, music and videos and music. It's better just to go ahead and pay the whatever extra if you really want it than to try to do something, whether it be illegal that you find out later. You don't know now it is maybe, but it might be. Or, worst case scenario, I've seen a lot of students, trying to delve into the dark side and go into like a peer-to-peer type of software to download these things. And that can cause a lot of damage, not just being a legal issue, but can cause a lot of issues as well with your network. So you can see here from this graph the increase of sophistication of attacker tools and the decrease of the knowledge of those attackers over the years. And so, like I said, starting back here from 1990 to 2005, you can see they're diametrically opposed to each other as far as going in the exact opposite direction on how many tools are now available for high-level hacking and what level of knowledge an attacker needs to do that hacking. This is a screenshot of a software we'll use this semester called Backtrack. It's a Linux distro that has about 1,200 apps on it. About 500 are designed specifically for network security professionals, but it's also used by hackers as well because of the anti-hacking tools and also the penetration tools that we'll talk about what that means. This is one tool that's very popular called Backtrack that you'll be getting this DVD in the weeks to come to play with. So what is information security? It's basically securing any type of important data of a person, place, or thing. And so information security isn't just digital. Information security is now everywhere. It's not just your digital, content that's in a computer in an HR department. Your cars are digitized, your TV, maybe in some cases your refrigerator, your whole lighting of your house. I don't know. I mean, everything's digitized and is programmed. And so you think about the city, all the lights in major metropolitan, even Rockford, is all digitized. All the stoplights and everything, the grid, the electronic grid. There's been a number of those who want to attack the U.S. to thwart those electronic grids and to hack into them, because if you can stop communication or cause confusion with stoplights, just use that one example, you can actually get a lot accomplished if you can cause confusion in those areas. So security can be considered a state of freedom from a danger or risk, but and that's a fairly good definition, but I think security is all encompassing. It's no longer just IT's job to be knowledgeable about network security. Every employee, every family member you have needs to know the basics of security as it deals with their computer, their bank account, their mobile phone. Everybody needs to know the basics. And knowledge is basically power. And so hopefully this semester you'll find some knowledge that you can transfer to yourself, but also to those around you, those that you work with, because security is everywhere, and network security actually encompasses every walk of life. Information security is a task of guarding information. It's a digital format, ensures that protective measures are properly implemented, cannot completely prevent attacks or guarantee a system is totally secure. I like to think of network security as a mindset, because things change so often. Software, technology, it almost has to be an abstract. Information security is, IT security, because things change so much that from year to year, month to month, but one thing that doesn't change is methods and procedures that you and I can employ in our own life and in our workplace, that regardless what the technology is, if we apply these methods and procedures, we're going to be fairly safe. Not to say 100% safe. There's no network 100% safe, just like there's no door that's 100% unlockable, no car is 100% being somebody coming in and stealing it and breaking the window and getting in. And so, but you can make it as secure as possible. But the major reason for security issues today isn't really the PCs, the Macs, the mobile phones, the networks, the servers, internet. It's people. People are using these systems. And the weakest link in a network is usually the person, the node. The first node of communication in any network today is not a PC or a mobile phone. It's somebody holding that mobile phone, somebody sitting at that PC, somebody sitting at that Mac, and doing something, whether knowingly or unknowingly, and there you go. That's where you have security issues. So if you're trying to find, I guess, out of this class, a way to 100% secure your systems from now till you die, you're not going to get it from me. Okay? Somebody might have it. I haven't found them yet. But what I can guarantee is you'll get a mindset basically, that will help you keep your system secure on just how you do your day in, day out business, what information you give to people, how you train people that you are over when it comes to IT, employees, how much information you give them, what type of information you give them. Because when I first started in network security, I was all about locking everything down, like Fort Knox. That's what I liked. But I learned over the years, it's best to work in a system, people work better in a system, to where they feel like they're totally untethered from network security doesn't tether them at all to any type of, or bog them down any way, shape, or form in their day in, day out business and what they do. And the way I've done that over the years is, and you'll learn that this semester, is out of sight, out of mind. People don't get to see what they don't need to see. People don't get access to what they don't need access to. And so if they see a folder out there that says payroll, they don't need to see that. Okay, you can hide that. There's ways to do it. Also, door access. Some people don't need door access to certain areas. There's some people and you don't need to publicize it. You don't need to make it a big deal. And so you could say it's kind of being secretive, but in IT, you've got to be that way. And so in network security, you've got to be that way. You got to be able to keep confidence, not just with each other, but also with your network and what's going on. Because there will be times in your network that it isn't going so great. Something's happened, and you're like, oh man, this is not good. If everybody knew this, we would be in big trouble. Okay? And it happens in every single network, regardless, big or small, it's going to happen. But you pull your resources together, you start working together to fix it, and then you begin to relay what you can relay to people, what they need to know, basically, to function and to do their job and do what they're supposed to do. And so I've over the years, I went from, an example would be a program I created when I taught high school to high school, students, 9 through 12. They weren't supposed to go to, like every high school. You can't, you're not supposed to play games. You're not supposed to, go on. At that time, it was Zanga or something, I think it was. And then the game was AOE, Ages of Empire, and Quake, I believe. Yeah, those are the two big ones. There's other ones, but those are the two ones I can remember. So Age of Empire, Quake, and I created a little software app for the computer labs. Basically, if they saw those two processes running, it would lock the screen, take a screenshot, email it to the administrator, and a lab assistant would have to come by and put a password in that computer for that student to continue working. And then a lot of times they were sent to the office, yada, yada. So I went from that, and it made a beep sound too, I think. I went from that concept to that app actually iterated and evolved to where if they tried to do what they weren't supposed to do, it would let it run for like 3 seconds and then just kill it. And it was kind of funny watching, because we had we had this double glass in one of the computer labs where we could actually see, during study hall, kids are supposed to come in and work on whatever. Sure enough, it'd be 2, 3 guys come. Usually one guy come in, because I think it was Counter-Strike was the other one. With Counter-Strike, one of them had to come in and get the room started. If those of you ever play Counter-Strike, you had to get a room started first, takes a few minutes, and then the other 3 guys would come in to kind of join. Well, with that game, I actually gave them like 10 or 15 seconds to start. So there's enough time to get signed up, get logged in, and then kill it. It would kill it. And so they do it about 3 times, and then I just see them go, well, I guess I'm not going to be playing Counter-Strike today. And they'd walk out of the lab and go on to their merry way. And so it worked much better that way. We didn't have any issues. And they, never once did they come to us and go, Mr. Conco, I can't get into Counter-Strike. It keeps shutting down for some reason. So that never happened. So I learned from that experience that my life's easier doing it that way. And if they're not supposed to be doing it, make it so stealth that, like in this example I just gave you, it kills the process After 2-3 attempts, they're going to go right back to work. Because they really don't know, okay, are they watching? Is a screenshot happening? What's going on? Okay, maybe 2 times, 3 times about max, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to try anymore. And so that's how I approach network security even today, and it works pretty good. So let's talk about what people think is important when it comes to their security. First is confidential, making sure what is confidential stays confidential. Also, the way it was given to you as a company, it stays that way. Integrity of it stays that way. What I mean by that could be if I give a company my information to work for, which you're going to if you work for them, like your address, city, state, zip, you know you're going to trust that company's going to keep that data and integrity of that data. They're not going to sell it to somebody else, right? They're not going to market it out there and go, why am I getting all these emails and calls from somebody? Oh, we sold your data. You know, we sell it to highest bidder every week. You know, we don't want that. People don't want that. So you want the integrity to stay. And the availability, meaning if I go to, for instance, an example of this would be healthcare. It's getting better, but it's got a long ways to go when it comes to your medical records. Okay? Most hospitals, even though they're becoming paperless, you still have to go into the medical records area and pick up your stack of medical records, and physically carry it somewhere. And sometimes it takes a long time to get that information, depending on the hospital that it's located at. When it comes to technology, same deal. If I have a resource that I work with every day and it's never available to me for my job, to complete my job, not only is it going to upset me, but it could cost me my job if it's not available for me to use. It could be a program, it could be a process, whatever. Again, like I said earlier, I want you to not think of IT security as now, and what I mean by that is hardware, software, devices, because all that's going to change. It'll be totally different in 5 years from now what it is now. Totally different. We'll have different devices. We might not have keyboards. You might not have, computers. Telling where we're going to be in 5 years. And so the mindset of keeping things confidential, keeping the integrity of it and availability of it carries over regardless of what changes in information security, what changes in hardware and software. Information security is achieved through a combination of 3 entities. And again, making sure the center of it is the information itself that we've already discussed, but confidentiality, integrity, and availability, those are protected with communication, hardware, and software. IT does a pretty good job with hardware and software. Communications, not so much. And the reason is normal IT shops are low-staffed, overworked, underappreciated, and stressed to the max. I would say majority. The average IT person, regardless of what they work in the IT department, lifespan today is about 2.5 years, and that's a long time in some areas, some locations, some geographic locations. And the reason for that is of the stress. And so some of the stress comes from, or a lot of stress comes from communication. And so a lot of IT departments are actually sending folks to Dale Carnegie School of Sales, how to win friends and influence people, to kind of get their people skills up there a little bit more, because it's great to know technical and understand technical, be able to program, be able to set up a computer, be able to do all the things people need, but you're going to have at some point talk to that person. Okay? As much as you don't want to, you got to. And so that's where a lot of IT shops are now hiring people that maybe just specialize. They're IT related, but they might be totally just people, just good people, talkers. They're just very friendly. They know how to talk to anybody that's upset and calm them down. And so you need that in an IT department. But a lot of our IT departments can't afford to hire just a separate person to do that. So they're having to kind of learn themselves, whether it be through training, motivational things, whatever it might be, to get the help they need, to get the communication Because if your information is secure fine through software and hardware, I mean, the best you can get it, like bar none, 100%, great, perfect. But nobody knows how to get to that stuff, and nobody knows the steps to it, and they don't feel approachable. IT doesn't feel approachable to them. Then it really kind of disallows the hardware and software work that we're doing. If we're not communicating on a daily basis, hey, this is what we think might help you. Would you like to come to this training next week? And some of the trainings you might not even have to put on. A lot of these companies that you work with, that you get software from, guess what? They'll bring people out for free to do a seminar or to do a training or whatever. And I think a lot of times we don't take advantage of that as much as we probably could take advantage of that. And so, you can bring in outside folks to come in, and it doesn't always have to be internal. The way I've done it over the years is with IT and with, I've been in a couple places, IT manager, even here at the campus for a few years. And one of the things I learned was you find like a champion in each area that you can train or communicate with well, and then that person disseminates their information for that area to all the workers. That's how you really, because you can't be everywhere at all times. There's no way. And you are busy, you are covered, you are stressed. That's going to happen. So you find people you can train or communicate to, really, not really train, just communicate information. They might themselves go get the training somewhere else where you told them to go, and then disseminate that information in their departments. And that seems to work really well because communication is key to your security, and it's key to everything that we do. You might not ever become a teacher, but you will teach in IT. You will teach whatever it is you do. You will teach to somebody that uses that product. Somewhere down the line, you're going to have to teach them. And so the outer rings, beyond that, you have products, people, and procedures, which I've talked briefly about. Products would be physical security, like door proximity cards. Do people know that you can't let other people use a proximity card? Well, you think it'd be common knowledge, but unless people are actually told why and the dangers of it, it's not just because we want to be mean. It's because if you let somebody else use your proximity card and say they, steal something in the workplace and they have your proximity card, you could be initially blamed for that, theft or whatever. Or worst case scenario, as I knew a guy one time, not worst case scenario, he worked a midnight shift. He left at like 2 a.m, told the guy, hey, would you mind clocking out with my proximity card? He said, yeah, no big deal. Well, the guy did, 6 a.m., clocked out for him. Well, they didn't know that we had pinhole cameras facing the time card or the time card reader, which a lot of places do. And sure enough, somebody turned in, because we didn't watch it every day unless somebody said something. We didn't watch the tape every day. We just, but it was recording. Sure enough, somebody said, because they'd done this a number of times, somebody's got tired of it because they've been working every night for 8 hours, and this person been leaving at 2 a.m. for like 2 weeks. And after a while, somebody just finally said something. Well, we watched the tape, brought the person in, or the two people in actually, and gave them the opportunity to say, hey, this is what we heard happen. Has this been happening? If they fessed up and said, yeah, this happened, they were going to get warning, written up, whatever, done. Next time, that's your final warning. Next time, you're going to be let go. Well, both of them denied it. Then they sat down and watched the actual video, like something like a minute video or something, the actual time when it happened. They had to gather all their stuff and then walk out. And so that's part of security as well. And, proximity of the physical security, people security, and procedure security, just like in the time cards and using proximity cards for doors. Procedures are there for a reason, and usually it's there to protect employees in most places. I know some places it's not. It's, maybe, there's a lot of, bullying that goes on in workplaces. I know that, and a lot of things that shouldn't be going on. But, and those, I always tell students, if you're ever in a place like, and we've all had jobs we not liked, and people have been mean to us or hateful to us for no reason. All of us have. If you haven't, you will eventually. Sad to say, you will have one or two of those jobs in your life. You can still keep your concept of what we're talking about, even in the midst of all the mess that'll kind of sometimes, for me anyway, lessen the stress when you're in areas where people don't have the same values you do when it comes to security. You know you have those values. You're not going to bend on those values. That's going to help you sleep at night better than those who maybe don't have those values. And you'll get something better as time goes on. It'll pay off. I've seen it happen to students that have struggled in some job and done a really good job. They were rewarded later. And so the main thing with this chart, I just want you to make, out of everything out of here, I want you to get out of this slide here, is really communication. Communication's key, and hopefully this semester I can inspire you a little bit to communicate better to your coworkers, to each other, to those that are non-IT related, that don't know computerese or don't know geekies, to where they can feel easy talking to you. And so that's very important. Okay, this gives a comprehensive definition, which I usually read. It's that which protects the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of information on devices that store, manipulate, transmit the information through products, people, and procedures. That's a good book definition of information security, comprehensive definition of information security. So we're going to end on things that you secure. And there is one of the lessons we do this semester where you actually, I think you look at the security procedures here on campus for passwords. Or is there one? Can you find one? That's up to you. You're going to be doing that and finding, assessing that. There is jobs, by the way, in network security just in assessing procedures. So if you're into procedures and numbers and step-by-step things, you might actually want to look into that as a job function, because there's actually quite a few jobs, even in the Chicago area, Schaumburg area, Milwaukee, Madison, on network security analysts that basically do what I just mentioned. They just basically look at the process and procedures of a company, and they make sure that they're adhering to those processes and procedures and bring them up to par by whether it be education, training, whatever it might be. Okay, and so you might actually, some of you might like that and want to get into that. So when it comes to information security, the first thing you look at is what's called an asset, something that has a value within your realm of influence in IT. And that thing could have value, would be data for sure, we know that, but it could also be hardware, software, people's possessions, people's data, so not just work data, but even their data that they bring. Threat is the next one, an event or object that may affect the security measures in place and result in loss. Threat agent, a person or thing that has power to carry out a threat. So asset, threat, and threat agent. Vulnerability, a weakness that allows the threat agent to bypass security. And risk, the likelihood of the threat agent will exploit that vulnerability. An example of this would be, and this happens quite a bit, with social engineering, which is really one of the number one ways you'll learn this semester that people get into networks and get information, is through regular old non-techie talking to people and smoozing their way into networks, into companies. An example would be a guy comes into company A, three-piece suit, walks up to the secretary and goes, I'm getting to meet with Bob Jones, the CEO, here in about 5 minutes. I've got to check my email because I forgot a document. Would you be a dear and let me do that? She thinks about it for just a second, goes, well, I'm going to go get some coffee and I'll let you come in here. I'm already logged in. No big deal. That happens every day. She comes back. He's gone. No telling what he took from the computer network, and that happens all the time. Social engineering. And so she's maybe never been trained not to do that. She paused for a second thinking, should I do this? Should I not do that? He's in three-piece suit. He's going to meet with my boss. If I don't let him do it, am I going to get in trouble? Because that could happen, right? It could happen. She doesn't know. And so vulnerability in this case is the weakness in this case is her lack of knowledge that you don't do that. That's pumping, but it's never spread. It's never populated. It's never educated. And so it happens all the time. And then the risk, the likelihood a threat agent will exploit a vulnerability, because every business has certain risks depending on the business you have, whether it be, here's some vulnerability examples: proximity, door access, Wi-Fi access, hardwire access to your network, hardware access to your stuff. Regardless of what it is you have a lot of, or how your building is structured or your company is structured, every company is going to have some risk. And you have to decide, are we going to do something about the risk, do nothing about the risk, and eat it, like a lot of companies eat so much risk each year. They, like Walmart's, eat so much risk each year, people just taking stuff and leaving, just stealing. They don't catch them. Every store does that. There's going to be a risk for waste in every company. But then there's going to be some things you're going to say, no, we're going to actually attack this risk. It's not worth letting us let it go. So here's an example of a car with a stereo. That's the asset. The example here is a threat agent is a thief. He goes through a hole in the fence, which we've all seen holes in the fence like that, right? Goes through a hole in the fence. He gets into Amanda's car stereo and steals it. All right? So the asset in this case is the car stereo. An example in information technology, employee database. Threat, stealing the car stereo. IT, stealing data. Threat agent, the thief. IT, threat agent would be attacker, virus, or flood. Vulnerability, hole in the fence. IT vulnerability, software defect. Exploit, climb through the fence. IT, send a virus to unprotected email server. And then finally, risk, transfer to insurance company, risk and IT, educating users. All right? And so these can all be related to IT. Everything in the real world can be related to everything in IT. So how do we prevent it? Preventing data theft. Sam Walton, believe it or not, the start of Walmart, had a really good idea years ago. He's passed on, but he had a good idea to have door greeters years ago. And they fought him tooth and nail, the board did. They said, waste of money, waste of time, we don't need to do that. He goes, well, I look at it two ways. One is, it's a friendly face. Two is, though, it's theft prevention. Because people are less likely to walk out the door the same person that gave their kid a sticker on their arm when they came in. Okay? Right? Not everybody's going to do that. There's some people who do it regardless what you do, but it is theft prevention. And then not only that, but I don't know if you've realized since they've taken the door greeters away from Walmart, if you've been in here in the last year, I've had those buzzers go off when I've walked out with people. They've had the buzzer go off and they just keep on walking. Nobody comes. It'd be like, you just stand there for like 10 minutes. Nobody does anything. And the same greeters, though, are still working there, but they're like stocking shelves. They're like 90 years old. I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? Yeah, they're going to really stock that much? But, I think what'll happen is, and I think he was right, actually. I really do. I agree with his concept. What's going to happen is Christmas time. Let's talk about that. Black Friday, right? Around Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving. What's going to happen is they're going to have record-breaking theft one of these years, and guess what they're going to reinstitute? The door greeters. Because does theft prevention cost money? Yeah. Are you always going to use it? No. right? But like, it's good to have it. You need to have it. And so same thing with IT. Security is often associated with theft prevention. The theft of data is one of the largest causes of financial loss. Individuals are often victims of identity theft. And educating users in your business is going to cost money. Time, whether it be seminars, emails, you going to seminars, learning about it, giving them information. And the way you can sell it to your boss and those who have money in your organization is give a few examples of companies that didn't do anything and just waited for the catastrophe to happen. And it did happen, and it happens all the time. Then they go under, or they have to pay so much to get it back to where it was remotely. That'll sell it. That'll sell the concept. Because they don't see it. They don't see what you're talking about when everything's running great. There's no problems. Well, that's when we want to be proactive. We want to kind of do something now before something does happen. Okay? And so educating people, getting them in the, and every business is going to have different threats that are going to come against you that we'll talk about this semester. Thwarting identity theft. Identity theft involves someone's personal information. We've talked about bank account, credit cards. Cards are then left unpaid, leaving the victim with debts and ruining their credit. There are some legalese in IT, and there's some number of federal and state laws that have been enacted for electronic data. I'm going to end on this slide here with productivity. I think this is a really telltale slide of maintaining productivity or how it affects productivity. So cleaning up after attack, let's talk about that. Time and money away from normal activities. So let's talk, you have 100 employees. Average salary for those employees, $25 an hour. The number of employees that combat the attack, just one employee. The hours it takes that one employee to clean it up, 48 hours. Over $4,000 and 81 hours of lost productivity for one instance for a 100 employee company. 250 employees, same pay. 3 employees though come back to clean it up, 72 hours, over 17,300 man hours lost. 500 employees, $30 an hour. 5 employees here, 80 man hours, close to 30,000, 483 hours of productivity. And then finally, 1,000 employees, $30 an hour. 10 employees out of those 1,000 work on it. Look at the total, almost $250,000 for cleaning up that security breach. And the security breach could have been an easy educational thing. It could have been what I mentioned earlier of the person coming into the business and getting into the secretary's computer for 5 minutes, and maybe he stole some patents, walked out the door, sold those patents, and a company went under. Yes?
Barry and I used to work in the Lexington health system in the suburbs, and in part of the HIPAA Act, part of the punishment, rather than be monetary, is if there were a certain, I don't remember if there was a percentage of medical records or it was a finite number, the first thing they had to do was notify all the local media, which could have been much more damaging than any type of monetary loss.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Start losing patients and
right. Yeah, once you leak.
More scared of that.
Yeah, once you leak that, let's talk about credit cards or social security numbers or whatever. Once that's leaked, you're going to lose customers. It's going to happen. Paula Dean. Let's talk about that for a second. Nothing IT related to that, but turned out the lady that was accusing her was lying about it. Is she back on Walmart shelves and back in all these stores? No. Did she say what she said whenever it was that she said it? She said she did, but she was like 18 years old. And she has, hadn't had any issues since then. And so, the public damage control, and depending on how large you are, most companies can't afford that damage. They can't afford it. Once the damage is done, it's done. You just can't afford it. Can't recover a $250,000 recovery. It's over. It's done. And so while things are going good is generally the best time to be proactive, because you're going to find weak spots in the good times that people just overlook, people don't think about. It could be an example of educating people to not give out passwords, educating people, not let people use proximity card. Little things like that can destroy a company. It could be one incident could destroy it. One incident could cause a lawsuit to bring them under. And so network security is not just about securing routers and switches and hubs and hardware and software, and that's a good part of it. But I would say over 50% of IT security is communication, education, being open and honest about everything that's going on around you, which in IT we don't like to do because when you're open and honest about things that are going on around you, it exposes stuff in your company, it exposes weaknesses, and guess what? The weakness could be sitting next to you in a cubicle. That's not good sometimes. That doesn't go over too great, okay? And so you gotta, I always tell students, because I know how you are. I was like you when I started school, or you're coming back to school to get more education. I wanted to do something big, and I've done a lot of good things. I've got a chance to do a lot of good things in IT. But one of the things I want you to kind of do, I guess, is with the knowledge you get here in other classes and just your own learning as well. One thing you don't want to do is go in like gangbusters, which I've done this before, and try to clean up shop like the Old West. It doesn't work too well. I've learned over the years, after doing that in my first job, and even a little bit my second job, that it's best to kind of step back, get a battle plan, and say, okay, I'm going to invest in this a while. It's going to take, what I want to happen now might take a year to happen. But to do it right, and for me to actually still be employed here and to be able to do stuff, I'm going to have to kind of plan these things wisely. Does that make sense? And so, because when you walk into a place in IT and you're in charge or you're managing a department or whatever, there's going to be things you see because you're an outside person coming in, and immediately you're going to see them that people inside don't see because they work with it every day. They have to live with that dysfunction maybe every day, the dysfunctional boss, the dysfunctional employee. Why does Joe get to come in 2 hours every day late? I don't get it. Because that's just the way it is. We've all worked in jobs like that, right? It shouldn't be that way. And so, you talk to Joe. What's going on, Joe? I don't have a ride to work, so I have to walk. Does anybody else know that? No? Guess what? I'll pick you up in the morning every morning. That's why Joe's been late for every day for the last 6 months, because he had to walk to work, literally, to take his, get his kids ready. And so some of the stuff is communication with Joe, that he's not that all bad a guy, but he was too embarrassed to tell anybody he worked with because he didn't have a car. And so I'll end with that, okay? And so IT is all about security, but it's also about people and about communicating and getting, sometimes getting down and dirty with people and getting on their level of where they live that sometimes in IT we don't want to do. We really don't. And I am better than the next person in that area. And so I've worked on it over the years. I'm a little bit better than I used to be, but I still make mistakes too with people. And you will too. But you just kind of learn from it and keep going and say, oh, I'm not going to try to miss that one next time. And so everybody knows what you're doing by Sunday, right? The About Me, review questions, quiz, that's it. Next week we're going to focus on NT Reset. We're also going to focus on more things that has to do with securing content in networking in Chapter 2. So if you could kind of skim through Chapter 2, you don't have to read it all before class next Tuesday, but kind of go over the highlights of Chapter 2 prior to coming to class, that would be great. And we're done. If you have any questions, come up and see me. All right? Have a good weekend.